Well, thanks everybody for jumping on today for another virtual youth innovation lab. We'll start out kind of how we start these usually, just giving a little bit of background on REM5, what we're doing and what this technology is being used for. And then we'll get into some cool things that you can use, devices that you probably have at home to use some of this immersive technology yourselves as well. So that'll be the fun takeaway for today. I'll do a little demonstration about how we can use some of the augmented reality apps that are actually free out there right on our phones to create art. So that's kind of the topic for today. First thing I want to do though is go over our presentation here. So I'll pull that up. And all right, so give you a little introduction to REM5 Virtual Reality Lab. If everybody can see this. So VR has really been the next big thing for a long time. The stereoscope you see on the left-hand side, this is actually a device that we have, one of these at REM5. It really just takes a picture and just turns the image on one eye a little bit to give it a little bit of depth in that image. The ViewMaster, which came out in 1939, same exact concept. We have a bunch of these as well. They're really fun to play with. And you can kind of see what the concept of VR looked like back in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And I mean, these were fun to play with when I was a kid as well. The current generation of VR really started in 2012 when Oculus did a Kickstarter. You can see the picture of their early devices right there. And they were actually acquired by Facebook as well, and now Facebook is the one who owns Oculus and makes the Oculus devices that you might know about, the Oculus Go, Oculus Quest, kind of the leading devices in the industry today. So what is immersive technology and what is it all about? So we kind of break it into 4 different buckets. There's 360 videos and images. So that's going to be stuff that you can look at with a device like a Google Cardboard or a Oculus Go headset. And these are just going to be images. An image is going to be a still image, but you can look at it all around you. So it's like taking a picture, but having that picture be all around you in all directions. And a 360 video, same concept, except now you're having motion into it. So it's like having a TV screen, but that TV screen is all around you, and you can see all different angles. So really cool for a lot of different use cases. The virtual reality that we often use at REM5 is what we call full virtual reality. So the entire environment around you is digitally made, so you can now walk around it. It knows how you're moving throughout the space with sensors that we have, either in the headset or all around the space that we have. And then you can actually interact with that space as well. So if you're doing something like Job Simulator, you can pick up a pizza and throw it at a robot. So that's really kind of the most advanced technology that's available in this space. Mixed reality, the way that we talk about it, is really when you're mixing real life devices with virtual reality. So you might have a hockey stick or a baseball bat or a pen, and you're using these things that are actually real, and you can actually touch and feel them and to interact in a virtual space. Augmented reality is really taking a device like a phone or a tablet, and you're taking reality and then you're placing a digital image on top of it. So Pokemon Go is a good example of that. Snapchat filters are good examples of that. These are all augmented reality technologies. And this entire group of technologies, we call it, sometimes it's called XR, we call it immersive technologies as kind of the bigger bucket. So we really think VR and these immersive technologies are going to change the way that we connect, the way that we work, learn, play, socialize. So that's why we're really excited about all of these platforms. So VR for education training and things like virtual reality lab. So these are really great because we're allowed to democratize experiences. So you can go in, you can look at the Mona Lisa, you can have a conversation or listen to somebody have a conversation that you may not actually be able to talk to. You can go watch a basketball game and sit at the front row. You're able to really take experiences that might be one-off experiences and spread them out to a lot of different people. You can also provide an unparalleled perspective. So you're able to see things that you may not actually be able to see in real life. You can see the picture here at the bottom right is somebody basically standing right next to a heart that's actually blown up. So this is a perspective of a heart that you're not going to be able to see without that digital image and without being able to walk in or around it. So really great for a lot of educational topics like this. So the reason that this is going to really impact the way that we learn is that experiential learning is really the best way to learn, even better than reading a book or listen to somebody talk. If you can actually experience something, that's really going to stick with people. VR can really increase people's ability to have those experiential learning tools, whether you're in a full VR headset or at something like an Oculus Go or Google Cardboard. Really great for being able to bring those experiences to people. So that's why we think this makes it the ultimate learning tool. Here's a good quote. I hear, I know, I see, I remember, I do, and I understand. So what we're trying to do is make sure that people are doing more of the things that they're trying to learn about so that they understand that. And then this is kind of what we're all about and where this lab fits in. So we do a lot of VR for entertainment. But we also do a lot of field trips, things like the Youth Innovation Lab, our program called Innovation Lab Plus, where we're actually doing lesson plans, 5 every week with kids and families through the Oculus Go headset and the content that's on there. And then we're doing some training corporate people as well. So a lot of things that we can use this technology for. And then here's just a few of the real world applications for VR that we're seeing a lot of interest in. K through 12 education in the top left there. What we're going to be talking about today is right in the top middle and arts. Brian's going to talk about some of the really interesting things that we've done at REM5, and then we'll talk about some of the things that you can do at home as well. But this is just kind of scratching the surface of what we can do with this technology. All right, and you can divide the world into two groups of people: those who think VR is a huge part of the future, that's us, and those who haven't tried it yet. So we want to get more people trying VR to get on the same wavelength as where we're at. All right, so with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll turn this over to Brian, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the work we've done in art, in virtual reality, and technology.
Well, yeah, like Travis said, we are going to talk a lot about how VR, AR, and a lot of other new technologies are being utilized for creation, creativity, art, immersive experiences, and kind of some of the stuff that we want to talk about today is what we're doing right here in the Twin Cities at our REM5 location. So I'm Brian Scalick. I work at REM5. I do a lot of the marketing and website and design and a lot of other things we've got going on right now. But one of my passions is working with our artists to build out an event series that we're doing that I'll talk about here in a second, and also just help them utilize the technology that we have to build what they want to build. So let's hop into it. So like I said, we have our kind of flagship event that's called ESC. It's the Experiential Sensory Collective. We've had 2 of these so far. The first one was in October of last year, and the last one was just about 2 months ago at the end of February. We are very excited to have a third once we can get back up and running at the space. But I'm going to play a quick video for you so everybody who wasn't able to make it can kind of see what those events look like. We will try again.
Technology.
Yeah, it's almost like we work at a technology company.
And so these are these pieces of virtual art that people have created?
Was that a question or a statement?
That was a question for you, Brian.
Okay, I was just going to chat about it afterwards. I mean, yeah. So this is our event we had back in February, and we had over a dozen artists working in a lot of different mediums. From anything like this, a projection mapped augmented experience, to in-headset experiences that we had as well, to interactive, just to a lot of different uses of technology to create art with. So that's kind of just a little sizzle recap, showing that, you know, we had over 200 people at the event in February. It lasted over 4 hours, and it's just a really fun time, and we get to do completely new work every single time, working somewhat with the same artists, and a lot of times bringing in new artists of people that reach out to us and that are just interested. So that's always something that we can chat more about. So kind of diving in a little bit more to some of the stuff we saw in the video, one of the projects that I want to start with is one by John Bumstead. So John's been using augmented reality through an app called Torch to basically utilize a lot of the digital and glitch art that he makes anyways, and then utilizing those in augmented reality. So some of the examples you can see here is his pieces floating in space, or like in the middle one being utilized inside of a 3D model, to basically that you can hold up an iPad or your phone and see them in space and walk completely around them, and a lot of times even interact with them as well. So John's really dove very deep into this app, and we're actually going to be having a panel on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. with a couple other artists to talk explicitly about augmented reality. So that can kind of be an extension of today's conversation too. So if that's something you're interested in looking at, the app is called Torch. I'll also post that to our page and to this live stream afterwards. It's a free app, and it's really cool because it has a lot of built-in 3D models that you can scan your room and place them in space and kind of walk around with them and do some really interesting stuff with it. The next piece.
And this is an app that we actually used in our design camp last year. So kids, and that was for kind of ages 7 to 14, and kids were creating pieces of art in VR. We would export them, and then we would put them on a tablet or a phone, and then you could actually look at your virtual art just on the floor or on the carpet, and you could actually like take it home, share it with somebody. So it was a really cool way to take VR art that you create and then use it in a little bit more accessible format if you want to show somebody who doesn't necessarily have a headset. So really cool application for that.
Yeah, and just like Travis was saying about sharing out, this QR code is actually for John's most recent project back in February. So again, when this gets shared out, you can scan that and try it out for yourself inside your own home. So another look at AR being used in art is actually a project of mine, shameless plug, but that is, oops, I lose my video? Either way. So this is an example of basically taking photos that I took and that were printed onto canvas panels and then giving them a layer of digital video and audio on top, so that when you look at them through a device like a phone or an iPad utilizing an app, it recognizes that image and then triggers a video to play on top of it. So something that looks like a normal photo that you'd have on your wall actually has kind of a secret layer of glitch on top of it. So I actually have a little video example here. My buddy Brandon helped make some soundscapes for it too, and it's just kind of a weird way to mess with reality a little bit. So here's like the original image of the canvas, and as you put your phone onto it, it starts to melt and shift with some glitching that I did. And just kind of as a fun way that uses an app called IJack to basically take that image and then combine it with a video that I made and put them together, just as another way to give it a level on top of what would be more of a traditional piece of art. So that one's kind of fun, and IJack's been a really cool app to use. It's also free. It has a desktop creator that really makes it easy to, take photos you might have on your walls in your room or stuff around your house, and just do something fun with them to give them a kind of a secret layer to them. So definitely check out IJack, and Sudo, the developer, has been really good about anyone who has any questions. So just another fun thing you guys can play with at home. And so kind of a third area I wanted to touch on that we saw in the video of our art event is a project that was done by Jason and Zach. So this is really using more virtual reality as a tool for creation. These are two very smart guys who can kind of build spaces from scratch using a game design engine called Unity. And so as you can see in the preview here, what they did was on the left with this head that has vines growing on it, that's a 3D model. So you can actually look all around that and play with that in virtual space, with the full headset on. And then on the right here, this is a space that Zach helped made with a lot of shaders and lighting, so that at the event, people would hop into a headset and be transformed, completely immersed. So slightly different than just augmented reality through the phone, but completely immersed in the headset into this space where they kind of were in a weird art gallery of sorts that had this piece floating in the middle. So just another, a different way at it. Unity is also a free program you can try. There's a lot of learning and tutorials online. It is definitely you have to really kind of dive into it, but all you got to do is really start and want to kind of go down that path. So that was just one technique that I wanted to showcase as well. But the main piece today that I really wanted to talk about is a program called TiltBrush. So TiltBrush is available at REM5 once we get to open again to the public for you guys to come in and try out. And basically what that is thinking about a traditional painting style, but in virtual reality, so in 3 dimensions. It's a tool that a lot of our artists have been using to create completely from scratch full immersive worlds that kind of tie into an aesthetic that they create in, that have been just really cool. And it's a program that's really easy to get into, but also takes a lot to master. Yeah, I'm just going to pull up the video that I made this morning that shows a little bit more about kind of the UX, so you can see for yourself what it's like to actually be inside of TiltBrush, and we can talk through a little bit about some of the tools that you can use inside of it that really will help you start to think about, when you come out to REM5 in due time, what you would want to make for yourself. So hopefully this will kind of help trigger some ideas and get you thinking. So here I am, you got to rock the Yoda slip-ons when you're working in TiltBrush. That's the first rule of TiltBrush. But as you can see, basically, you're fully immersed. So this is like, again, creating in complete 3D in a blank virtual space. But what happens is both of your hands are utilized as one being the paintbrush and the other being a palette of tools and brushes that you can select from. So it's really just as simple as holding the trigger, and then as you can see, not only can you draw on a flat plane, but you can start to move completely around your object. Something that Amir and Travis like to do with people when they're in there for the first time is challenge them to draw a 3-dimensional cube, which, on paper you can kind of do some tricks with it and make it work, but in VR, it's like there's no reason to do that. You can literally draw each side of it and walk around, draw another side, walk around, and kind of see it as a whole. What I'm doing here now is just, you start to layer on different brushes, and then this is the really cool part, is that you can grab what you've made and scale it. So you can make it really small and make these tiny little worlds, or you can blow it up to the size of the room, which for a lot of artists it would be impossible to do. There's a lot of space and money that would go into having something this size. And then, of course, they've got a camera inside of it where you can take photos and video and document what you've made to show people outside of headset, or again, you can save out this project so that, you know, your friend can pop it on and be inside of what you were just making, or they can hop in and collaborate with you. It really is a limitless tool that has a lot of applications for it, and we've been using it a lot. Our artists have used it a lot, and there's really no actual limits to it. So be thinking about something like that, where it's like, hey, if I was in there, what would I want to? Would I want to draw something? Would I want to create a cool space? There's really a lot you can do with it. So definitely come in and try that out if you haven't before. So now that you've kind of seen what it looks like to be inside of it, and you can think about you know, it's a little bit intuitive once you're in there to kind of start and make shapes. Here's some examples of what our artists have used to make in Tilt Brush. So Schwartz, you can find her on Instagram as Life of a Paintbrush. She was our first artist in residence from probably almost a year ago now. And she's really cool because in some of her art practice in the physical world, she makes these cool alien landscapes with clay and flowers and gems and stuff with these really vibrant color patterns. And then you can see on the right here, she goes into Tilt Brush and she makes those fantasy worlds, you know, an immersive thing that you can hop into, which I think for her is just such an extension of what she would want to make at scale. Her stuff is super fun, very alien, very floral, really fun colors. And so it's been awesome to kind of see her develop that aesthetic into an immersive Tilt Brush space. The next artist is Philip. So Philip does a lot of light art and traditional painting, also works with a range of colors. So for him, Tilt Brush was just an extension of, okay, if I have these colors that can start to create depth in a two-dimensional piece, you know, what would happen if I made those paintings that I want to actually be something that you can walk through? So we've had Philip out for a couple events now where you hop on the headset and you're inside of one of his paintings that you can walk through in layers and see from just more than, you know, one perspective, or look at it while it's on the wall. So he's had a ton of fun kind of playing with really big spaces that you have to like teleport through and that tell a story and that have kind of different themes to them. So it's been awesome watching Philip kind of dive in and check out that medium. And then our last artist I wanted to showcase that's kind of using Tilt Brush.
Brian, Sophie asked, is one of his paintings your background?
Yes. I was like, I can't see myself right now, but I remember that it is. I was actually going to mention that next too. So yeah, this I believe is behind me right now. This is a screenshot that we took inside of Tilt Brush, like I was demonstrating with the camera. So right, you're in there and you can make a piece, and then if you want it as a digital photo, or even to take that and print it out, you can using that camera inside of Tilt Brush, which is really cool.
And that's what we've also used for, like we did a collaboration with Modest, where it was actually Sherston who did the art for a can that they did, and we worked with them on that design. So that was actually the first beer can that was ever designed in VR and actually made in the real world. And Google was interested enough in that they said, hey, we'd like to actually get some of those cans. So that's the company that made Tilt Brush. So a lot of interest, you know, in the things that we're doing in the art world, even from the creators of these programs.
Yeah, the haptic project was really cool. That the first beer designed in VR, it was a fun thing, and that's kind of where, especially in the art side of things, a lot of the stuff that we're doing right here in town and the artists that are involved, it's like the first time that these type of events and immersive experiences are being created in the history of humankind. So it's a really exciting time to be an artist using some of these digital tools, because there's a good chance that the places that you're exploring haven't ever been explored by anyone else before. So that's definitely really exciting. And that's kind of something that this next artist, Sheila, is definitely doing. So Sheila is a dream artist. So she is very ingrained in the culture of dreaming and working with people all over the globe to interpret and to think about how we can take what we dream about and kind of utilize it in the real world. And so for her, going into tilt brush and into a virtual space is very similar to being inside of a dream space. And that's where she kind of recreates things that she sees in her dream, which is just really cool to see. And actually, she just put out a new piece, which is something I'll link to as well. We'll pull it up. Things that she makes in tilt brush, you can export the files, and then without being inside of the headset, we can look at it right here just from our Chrome browser. And so this is a piece called Emmett's World. So for her grandson, who might be some of the age of some of the kids watching hopefully right now, he wanted to kind of create this space. So she went into tilt brush and made this world for him. So let's see if I can kind of spin around a little bit. So you can imagine that she was in there, you know, drawing each one of these buildings, and we can kind of slowly zoom in a little bit, but you can kind of scale it up. And that was something really fun that she made, kind of, you know, with him as a creative source for that. So that's something really cool. And it's a site it's Google Poly, which ties directly into tilt brush. So she can export this and we can look at it, but people can also take her piece and pull it into the headset and kind of learn about how she was making this and some of the techniques behind it. So it's it's a very versatile tool. So just a couple more things to kind of close from my end. Like you said, this is Philip's work. That's also me again. But we have a lot of our artist backgrounds available on a Google Drive link that we've shared out on social media, and I can also post after this. So you can use them during Zoom meetings like we have here. You can put them on your desktop, but just kind of a fun thing we wanted to share out, you know, as people are using this type of communication more. And then lastly, just for some more information, like this was just kind of a quick overview. And if anybody has more questions, always feel free to reach out to me or REM5 on social media or send us an email, because we can dive a lot deeper into some of those questions. But we've also been doing some artist talks. So we have a 30-minute talk with Sheila, the dream artist. And then just on Tuesday, we did a panel with 3 artists talking about tilt brush and what it's like to create in VR. And that was just a really good example of getting to dive a little bit deeper into those conversations. So you should definitely tune into those. And we also have one, like I said, on Wednesday that we'll be posting about really soon. So I will hand it back over to Travis. But yeah, thanks. Sorry for some of the technical difficulties, but we're ironing this out one day at a time. So appreciate it.
Comes with the territory.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And so the next thing that we wanted to go over, so Brian covered a lot of the things that we're doing at REM5 and really use that full virtual reality technology. And then with Torch, kind of how that blends with maybe some more accessible technology like augmented reality that you are using on your phone. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to do is show you something that we can do with art that is right on your phone and is free. So I'm going to share my phone here. Let me know if this does not pop up as expected, but it should. Oh. All right, so the application that we're going to look at today is called Sketch AR. All right, so that's the one I'm going to open up right here. And this is actually an application that is teaching you how to sketch through augmented reality. And so I'm a perfect example for this. I'm not a great artist. I'm not an artist in residence at REM5. So I need a little bit of practice in my drawing skills, and AR might be able to help me out a little bit here. So there are a few different tools here down here at the bottom. You can explore things that people have created. I'll go back to that in a second. You can just create things actually from the images in your phone. So that's really cool to explore. But let's start with just learn here. So I'm going to just learn a little bit about how this application works, and maybe learn a little bit about drawing too. So I'm going to start with there's a bunch of different tools here for learning to draw a little bit better. I'm going to start with this cat here. how this cat was drawn, and we're going to do that with AR. So I clicked on the cat there. I'm going to click on this draw with AR button. And then if you've been on our other learning labs, you may notice this tape that I have here on the table. So what augmented reality does is it tries to find reference points with your camera and with some of the technology inside the phone. So what it's looking for here is a flat surface. So it's finding this flat surface with this table. Sometimes the problem with tables is if the surface is really glassy, like a granite countertop or a steel countertop, it doesn't know where different points are. So it kind of gets confused about where you are in space. So what I like to do is put some tape down here. So you can see I've just put some random pieces of tape down. And what that does is it allows the system to have some reference points so that it knows where it is at any given time. And then what this application does is it's going to actually look for a piece of paper. So that's what we've got here is this piece of paper. And then it's going to help teach me how to draw on this piece of paper. So it's got this drawing lesson with my fingers here. I can make this cat a little bit bigger or smaller. I'll try to kind of maximize the space here, and then I've got my little guide bird here that gives you some instructions. So I'm going to go to next step here. And what this is going to literally do is have me draw this cat. And I'm going to try to do this as best I can while holding my phone. Alright, so I got the start there. And I'm going to do this in pen. It recommends you do this in pencil. But I'm going to do this in pen so you can see what we're doing here. So you see, even as the piece of paper moves, the reference points are moving as well. So the system knows where the piece of paper has been moving. Alright, there's the body. Now we're going to draw the cat's hip right here. Alright, and I can kind of see this starting to come together. Tail. Couple of legs right here. Now notice on each of these, I'm just drawing the red color. Now we're going to draw the ears. Tail here. Alright, now this should have me shade this down a little bit to give the cat's head a little bit more features here. I'm just going to do that. And then this would be our reference line for the shape of the cat's face. Alright, and then you can see that's what we draw the eyes and the nose off of. Draw those eyes there. And the nose and mouth. Alright, and then some eyebrows. There we go. That's what the outline should look like. So now the next step this actually goes through is helping you shade this cat. Since I do this in pen, and that's what I'm drawing with, I won't go through that whole step, but this actually helps you with what shading can look like. So that's a really cool step. And then once we're done here, so I'll kind of end this right here. On the bottom, we have this recording button. So we can actually see glitching out on me. So if we can actually see some of the art that we've created, just kind of drawn really quickly. So we go to this one that somebody drew. It'll actually show their art created in kind of quick motion there. So that's what that creates. Here's another good example. This is what this would look like if I hadn't clicked the wrong button there. So a really cool way to use augmented reality technology to create art and even get better as an artist. So this is a really cool application. It's totally free. Again, this one is called Sketch AR, and really great way to both learn about art and use technology to your advantage as well. So any questions that people have before we start wrapping up here? Feel free to turn your mics off mute if you need to. I think everybody's mics are currently muted. All right, and Brian, do you want to just go over where you're going to share all the information that you have talked about here?
Yeah, for sure. So we are live streaming right now on the REM5 Facebook page, which it's a great place to follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We're also putting a lot of these videos all up on YouTube as well. But for a lot of the information shared in this video, I'll put it in the description section when I upload to YouTube right after this. But I'll also link them out on the Facebook Live post as well. So hop onto Facebook and check us out, and there will be a lot of links to the different apps and links to get the Zoom backgrounds and kind of everything else we chatted about today. So I'll try to populate those there so you can have easy access to them.
Yeah, and we've had a few cool Zoom backgrounds pop up in the last that you've shared in the last few days, so those are really cool. And then the other thing, just if anybody's interested in any of our tech rental programs, let us know. Contact REM5 VR or check us out on the website. Innovation Lab Plus has been really fun, really successful. So we're just trying to bring this technology to as many people as possible. And that's one where we're doing 5 lesson plans a week, about 5 hours of educational content using VR. That's actually really engaging as well. So this week, one of the ones that I worked on is exploring space in virtual reality. So some really awesome content about space exploration, what it's like to be an astronaut, what that training is like, what they're doing on the International Space Station, and that's just one of the pieces of content that we're doing. So a lot of really cool stuff that we're doing with that program. So ask us about that if you're interested.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no other questions, we'll wrap it up there. And let us know if you have questions, topics that you want us to cover in the future as well.
Yeah.
You know, we're always interested in sharing, you know, kind of what we're digging into every day, and we'll try to do some more Q&A stuff here on the next Innovation Lab. Try to answer more of your questions as well. So, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you next week. Same